Hey there, Business for Unicorns podcast listeners. This is Mark, and I'm here to tell you about an awesome free resource on businessforunicorns.com. If you ever find yourself feeling frustrated with your training gym because you know that there are all sorts of things you could work on, but you're not really sure how to prioritize, you don't know what's the most important thing to work on or what order you should be tackling your priorities, well, now is the time to go to businessforunicorns.com, click the button, and fill out our free self-assessment. With the Ultimate Training Gym Owner Report Card, you will gain immediate clarity on just where to be focusing your attention to create more positive impact on your community, to drive more revenue and take home income, and to do it all with less stress and more peace of mind. So go to businessofunicorns.com, click the button, fill out that free self-assessment, and start building a business and life you love today.
Hello, fitness business nerds. What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Business for Unicorns podcast. Today, I'm here with Stephen Mack, who is a Unicorn Society member, fitness entrepreneur and badass, owner of Simple Solutions Fitness in Missouri. And I'm excited to have you on the podcast for the first time, Stephen. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going? Happy to be here, Michael.
So good to have you. Let's just start with some brief introductions so our audience can know who the heck you are, which is just talk a little bit about, where you're from, what's your business, talk a little bit about how long you've been in Unicorn Society. So tell us about you, Stephen Mack.
Well, yeah, so I am Steve Mack. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, but I came to Columbia, Missouri in 2010 for undergrad, for university. I ended up staying here because it kind of felt like home. I pretty much felt like, I had an hour and a half commute one way to school in Chicago. I can get anywhere in like 15 to 20 or so minutes here. While I was at the university, I played football for 3 years, and when I got done, I still had a lot of those relationships. I really like the people here, so that led me into taking an internship down at the Lake of the Ozarks. You may have heard of it. You probably haven't heard of it. No one's heard of it. Ozarks is actually based on the Lake of the Ozarks. If you've seen that Netflix show,
I have seen Ozark. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have time, but I saw a couple episodes. It's good, but
It,
yeah,
it was
that
really
led
good for
me
the first
to
season or
settle
two,
in
and then
here.
it didn't work out for me. But yeah, sorry, keep on going.
Yeah, that led me to settle in here and start basically working with people. And at first, I went home and office. I actually took equipment to people's places. Once I got some steam going, we started sharing space with a couple physical therapists. And then at some point, I actually pulled the plug and got a studio location. And that's where we're at now still. We've been here in this location for about the last 5 years. We're coming up on another lease renewal. So we're at south side of Columbia, Missouri.
Yeah, amazing. And you've been in Unicorn Society for how long now? It's been.
Yeah, so Unicorn Society, it's funny because I have to remember, I actually, in 2017, I went out to the Kansas City Fitness Summit and did some interviews. And Mark was somebody that I met then. And, he just impressed me with his knowledge on business and fitness. And so steadily over years, he massaged me with several emails that convinced me to join Unicorn Society. I believe it was about September of 2021. And I've been in it. I'm like, why didn't I join this sooner? I should have just been throwing money at you guys for a while.
It sounds like Mark's style. When he finds someone who's like, oh, you're awesome, he will stalk you for a while. So, good job. Good job listening finally and joining us. Yeah, well, it's been so great working with you, for the last, year and some change. And one of the reasons I thought it'd be great to have you on the podcast is, well, you're amazing at lots of things. But one of the things I've seen you in our conversations really be diligent about pursuing over the last 6 to 12 months was you've been really hustling in the ground game in terms of trying to build partnerships in your community to get more people in the door. And you've been doing it so methodically and so thoughtfully that I wanted you to come on and just kind of share what you're doing and share what you're learning with our audience, because I think there's so much that's going well. You've also learned some lessons about what not to do. And so just talk a little bit about what made you want to start, using this strategy for getting more people in the door. Of all the things you could have done, why focus on local partnerships in your community?
So, funny enough, my background, like, I don't really talk a whole lot about it in strength conditioning. We basically, at the University of Missouri, had maybe about 5 or 6 strength coaches that worked with us on the mindset pieces, the nutrition pieces. We had a full-time registered dietitian and our own cafeteria, and we kind of had what you would view now as like a holistic approach from a strength conditioning
Mm-hmm.
standpoint. We were one of, I believe, at the time, it was like 16 universities in the country with our own athlete specific dining hall. So with that, I'd always kind of seen the appeal of like the we address the entire athlete. Like they used to have a total person program that I took a part in because I was actually a tutor for Mizzou athletics as well. And so like I'd always kind of wanted to work with people from a strength conditioning standpoint, addressing all of their needs. Now, the question that I always had with myself was like, do we do this or do we work with an adjacent service that also solves this need for this person? So over time,
Mm.
one thing that dawned on me was actually when I was talking to Pete Dupuis one day, we don't have to do all of this. We can use a term that Amanda Natividad calls permissionless co-marking. Like we can start to talk
Mm-hmm.
to other businesses and then reach out to these other businesses at some point about how we can all serve these clients in these avenues. Like we don't need to touch nutrition. Maybe we work with a dietitian who's already marketing to a cluster of the same people. So then it was something that I actually went out and I asked our clients, like, do you have any dietitians you like? Do you have any massage therapists you like? Like, do you have these relationships? And how can we go about getting to know those people too? Because we're probably already sharing clients. We might as well talk to these clients together. And then if we can get more specific about
Mm-hmm.
our partnership, I would love to do that. So that's something that has just always been on my mind. That's why I wanted to do it.
Yeah, I think that's a great lens, a great way of looking at this, Stephen, which is just that, if I want to help my client and I want to help the whole human, whether it's an athlete or just a regular human, then there's lots of things they're going to need. And to ask myself, do I want to be the one that provides all of them? And most of the time, the answer probably should be no. Right, as small business owners, often it's a mistake I've seen a lot of Unicorn Society members make, which is they try to be everything to everyone. And so your take here, which I think is so smart, is like, okay, well, how do I just send them elsewhere? How do I build partnerships with other people, or maybe mutually beneficial partnerships, ideally, where they can service these needs for clients? Because let's be real, all of our clients, if they want to be healthy, well adults, they probably need once in a while a physical therapist. They probably need once in a while someone to help with nutrition. They probably need once in a while someone to help with their mental health. They probably need once in a while places to go shopping nearby where they can get, whole delicious foods, right? There's so many things that a healthy adult needs. And so if you can help build those partnerships, I think that's a great way of looking at it. So when you first started to approach this, where did you start?
So what I did basically is there are a couple of ways that you could go about this, but I thought about given that I have these relationships, like all of us, we acquire social capital when we're in these markets. Like, hey, there are some clients I work with that already maybe use these services, or like maybe I've used these services. So I started there. I thought about like who do I specifically know, and I guess slight plug in Unicorn University, we talk about the client
Mm-hmm.
avatar. You would lean back on like who is the person that we want to work with more, and like how can we talk to that person in a way that is like, yeah, this is a service that is a part of the change you seek to make in your life. So I leaned on like who do I know and what's the type of person we want to see more of, and I just reached out to those
Mm-hmm.
people and specifically started saying like, you're great, we already work with you, or I would like to work more with you. After we've like kind of touched base, like I started with coffee meetings, I started with like just brainstorming, like what does it look like to share these clients?
Mm-hmm.
I would ask those people within the context of that meeting, is there anyone else? Because these people, especially if they're like a dietitian or a physical therapist, they've seen other people in our network that they have credibility with. If there's someone else that they like, that they get referrals from or share referrals with, I want to know those people. So we started by first
Yeah.
meeting with the professionals that we had relationships with, that we had capital with, and then we went out from there and started asking for introductions, if at all possible. Like, would you be comfortable shooting an email? Would you be comfortable with me coming in to do a free workshop with you? Because I know, like, in the short term, yes, I would love to get a client immediately, but some of these things, like you're saying, the local partnerships take time. It's more of like I have to play the long game and then have more fishing poles in the water at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's so smart. So clearly, you started with the people you already knew. You used your
Yeah.
network to grow your network. And I love the idea that I think it's so smart to start with like an in-person casual coffee chat and just put your cards on the table. Like, hey, I like referring people to you and I love you referring people to me. I think you do great work. How do we do more of this? And is there anyone else that is in your network that I should know? Let's go have coffee with them. I think that's fantastic. So, in those initial coffee dates, what were you hoping to leave with?
So one thing I was hoping to leave with is, I mean, obviously this is, it was sort of happenstance that the dietitian we work with happened to have a trainer who,
Mm-hmm.
specifically this dietitian works with clients that have eating disorders. She had the trainer basically steal clients from her. So after our first meeting, she sent us 3 clients. Like she didn't want to send any clients
Wow.
towards that person. But what I was looking to gain from that relationship is more information about who they are, more of a let me learn about you, let me learn about how your business works, let me think about ways that I can give value to you. And once you kind of develop a relationship with somebody, something that we've worked on in a call, specifically you and I, Michael, we talked about what
Mm-hmm.
are the 1 to 3 asks that you might have of any local partner. Over time, you want to make sure that you educate them on that. So it might be we had our original coffee meeting. I'm just coming here to learn about who you are. After that, I might follow up with, let's set up another one. That's awesome. I like who you are. Here's one way you might be able to serve me in the future or serve our clients. And it doesn't have to be immediate, like maybe that's at the second or third coffee meeting. But at some point, like I want them to know specifically here's how you can help me serve you, or here's how we can both serve these clients. Because it sounds like we're both on the same page, because I want to learn about you and who your avatar is and if we have a good fit.
Yeah, I think that's so smart, Stephen. I love the idea of really those conversations being grounded in like we have a shared purpose. Our shared purpose is taking good care of these clients. And if we're going to share clients, then we're really on the same team here for making sure that we can give them the best possible experience between us, which is fantastic. And then your next move there is coming up with a menu of options that ways that you can add value to their client experience and vice versa. So what are some of the things that you mentioned a few already, but if you could maybe just list them for our listeners and viewers, what are the kinds of things that you were offering in terms of value and what are some of the things that you were asking for in these partnerships?
Yes, so number one, obviously, if someone has, like, say you're working with a larger employer or you're working with someone that has a team of their own, if they have people,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to go this route first, but if they have people that might benefit from working with you, especially if you're trying to educate
Mm-hmm.
them on how you serve people, you might start by offering
Yeah.
them, number one, like an educational workshop or some sort of piece of your experience. Like, hey, we talked to clients about fitness. Can I come in here and do the same with you? So it could be a workshop. A second opportunity might be like, hey, if you have a particular like low barrier offer or a trial or anything that you're pushing at that moment, not pushing meaning selling, it is selling, but basically you could offer that
It is.
same thing to, yeah, it's like, let me sell you a slightly version. Like, can you dip your toe in with this first? Like, here's a trial. So you could offer that trial to the people who are taking part in that business, like some of their employees, or even like we have some hours where I've actually invited the dietitian, like, would you like to come in? Your clients are going to be here. We can train you and show you what it's going to be like to be taken care of in the same way we will with your people. So it could be offering some of your
Mm-hmm.
service. It could be offering some sort of workshop. It could be offering maybe the opportunity to get a little more of their experience in your shop. Like one thing that we're working on, and when this recording drops, we may be around the date, but May 13th, we're having the dietitian actually have a workshop with our clients. Like, hey, come in. I'd be
Mm-hmm.
comfortable paying you for the thing if I need to, but like, let's show you off and let's basically show our people what it's like to. Essentially, she's developing content for us. Like, those are some of the asks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you might, how can we buy some of your service? How can you experience some of ours? Or like, how can I basically just start to add value to this relationship in a way where you know how to get in touch with us and we know how to get in touch with you?
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are all fantastic ideas. And I love the idea of starting with just like if both of you have teams or staff, starting there, right? It's one thing to work with a physical therapist, for example. But in that office where a physical therapist works, there might also be front desk staff or physical therapist assistants, right? So it's one thing to have the actual PT know you exist and be thinking about you and talking about you to clients, but it's another thing to have the whole team know what you do at Simple Solutions Fitness and have come there and seen you and met you. So I love starting with the team and then, offering the things that you're already offering. If you already have a low barrier offer a version of that. If you already do email marketing, you can swap email marketing lists and and send each other's offers to each other's lists. Right? I mean, and I love the workshop idea too. I think it's so smart. Just create content for each other. All right, you come in and do this for our clients. I'll come do that for your clients. And so what you're doing is you're having a real exchange of value rather than just selling each other. Right, you're actually offering value to both of your clients first, which I think is brilliant. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was like, you totally reminded me. I forgot about that. So one of the first things we actually did as well, and I more recently did the email thing. I hired a videographer to come in and record a workshop with a pelvic health physical therapist. And now that's something that I use as an ongoing like distribution of here's something dope we've done in support of you as a client, and here's something we've done with her that we're going to repeat. It's like a proof of concept, if you will. Like we do dope stuff. Here's a partner we've worked with in the past. I can actually sometimes I send that out in emails with other partners when I'm trying to introduce myself. Like, here's something we've done in the past to try to support this type of client. Is this something you'd be interested in doing as well with us?
Yeah, that's amazing. So talk to me a little bit about so once you've established these relationships where you're adding value to each other's clients, you're maybe collaborating on some clients, you're exchanging both content and offers, there's referrals going back and forth. How do you think about, or so far, how have you been thinking about maintaining these relationships over time? This is, I imagine, and from my experience at least, it's not like it's set up and then it just kind of runs itself. Like any relationship, it requires some ongoing nurturing. So how have you been thinking about that so far?
So honestly, this is the one where it's kind of tricky because it depends and everyone hates that answer. So I know, for example, specifically, I have the dietitian in our network. She has events of her own coming up. So if you can put those major events on the calendar and either attend or show some sort of support by sending an email, asking how it went, that's a good way to keep in touch. And it gives you the opportunity to also, hey, I know we're talking about this other thing, but just want to drop a line in there. We've got this coming up if you wanted to promote this. Or, hey, we had a really good time the last time we worked together. I know I've been talking to you for the last couple months about other things, but do you want to get something else like this on your calendar? So you could keep their events in mind and either attend them yourself or send your clients in their direction. Or, at some point you could think about some sort of like doing it together. Lost my words there. It's fine. But that's one way that I keep in touch. I'll either set like a reminder or I'll basically just keep an eye on their social media feeds. I usually follow people that I'm in network with just so I can see like your email list. Like, what are you trying to do? What's the messaging look like? What's some language that I can use? Even we have a partnership page on our website where we've looked at specifically like, you could consider the partner to be its own avatar if you really wanted to go this far. There are core pain points and fears that therapists and dietitians will have when they work with trainers. If you can speak to those pain points, if you can speak to what it would be like to work with a good trainer, then you should be able to, help develop that relationship. Like you have a resource basically to lean on in the future. Like, oh, this dietitian is worried about this problem. Like, here's something I can use to kind of keep in touch with that. Like, on top of the reminders, on top of periodically checking in with them. Some people are going to be more busy. They may not want to hear from you a whole lot. But if you can show support, like in those ways, for me, that's worked well. And then obviously it depends on the person. Like some people, I have a therapist that shot me a text this morning. Some people don't want that. They just want to shoot you an email and they want to hear from you when they need to hear from you, and that's it. So you're kind of, it depends. Like you kind of have to play that by ear.
Yeah. Well, I think I love your idea here is if you're going to do a lot of partnerships, you really think about like who is the avatar. I think that's a brilliant way of looking at it, Stephen, right? Because then if you think about the person like an avatar, then you have to think about their unique needs and preferences. And it's not going to be exactly the same in the same way that it's not exactly the same with our actual clients, right? We have to kind of meet them where they're at in some sense. And the same thing is true with partnerships. They're all going to want and need different things. But I love your idea of like following them on social media, getting on their email lists, putting different events they have on your calendar, and showing up. Just showing up. I mean, even just you being in the back of the room for a workshop that someone is doing is huge, because they can say, oh, and Stephen, if you haven't met him yet, he's just around the corner. If you're looking for a great gym, go talk to him before you leave. Right? Just physically showing up and being present means that you're nurturing these relationships, which is huge. And I also want to give you a shout out. So on one of our calls, you mentioned that you had heard that one of your partners, I think, reached a milestone or did something, and you sent them an actual gift in the mail. Remind me what that example was.
Yeah, so Isabel at Bamboo Nutrition had told me during a coffee meeting that we were going to need to update the address we had for her because they were moving locations. So I actually read on their about page, like I knew the theme of Bamboo Nutrition, but I didn't realize how important bamboo was. Like it was an ongoing like root system that they basically communicated about bamboo and the roots and deep roots on their email, on their website, and on everything. So what I did was I actually found something that I would like. I found a wood painting or a wood piece of art on Etsy, something that you can't just buy anywhere, and nothing that had my logo on it. And I sent that to their office, and I just like basically said, hey, appreciate you and love to see like your business taking root. And that was like kind of a pun, taking root in the community.
Nailed
And I
it.
sent that off to them, and clients constantly ask them about like, these are great. Where'd you get these from? And I'm like, oh, they got them from me.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, huge shout out to you, Stephen. I mean, I think that just shows how much work can go into establishing and maintaining these partnerships. And when you do, it bears fruit. People will be talking about you and remembering you because you've made an impact for them. And so obviously you're doing all of this at the end of the day, not only just do good things in the world, but hopefully because you're going to get more clients. So talk a little bit about the results you've seen from these efforts so far.
Yeah, so some of them, sometimes it's a little tricky because specifically the therapist we're working with, she deals with batches of people that may or may not be ready for exercise at that time. So right now, I was talking to her the other day, and she was saying, like, this is a batch that I can't even get to go take a walk. So referring them to the gym is not a step that she's ready to take, but she's got us top of mind, so I'm not upset with that. She did have one client that tried to refer herself to us. That didn't pan out, but that's absolutely fine. It's a lead to follow up with in the future. Most of the traction we've gotten has been with the registered dietitian sending us clients. Like pretty much immediately, we got those initial 3, and right now we're working on like this workshop coming up. There's another one that just wasn't ready. She's actually a therapist herself, so that was interesting to me. It's another potential relationship to develop, but we're pretty much like just a handful of clients from there. And the thing we're working on right now with the therapy clinic is there's a transitional training program at the University of Missouri where they take people from the point where their therapy visits run out to just before they're ready to return to the gym. We're talking to them about whether or not we'd be a good fit there because we basically refer clients there when they're not ready to hit the gym, but they're looking into training and their therapy visits have run out. It's like, hey, you're actually not healed just yet. Maybe you need to go to this place first. They pretty much are at a point where they need to start off-ramping people after about 12 weeks. So we sat down and talked about like, how would it look for you to feel comfortable with a place that would be there ready for, those clients? Like, what would it take for us to be the place you send people to after they're off-ramped after those 12 weeks? So optimistic, still doing the work. It's growing. Where the roots are growing. Like that's where we're at.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll just say, our listeners, I mean, you can hear how much Stephen has thought about this and been working on this, but really for, maybe 6 to 8 months, I mean, still relatively new endeavor that is getting your focus. And I love that when you just talked about results, you talked about results in different ways, even throughout this conversation, that you get results in these partnerships by one, having sometimes just immediate wins like content created for each other. Workshops and videos as immediate results from these partnerships. Another result, sometimes you'll just get actual clients. I mean, 3 already from one partner is fantastic, right? I mean, just do the math on what the lifetime value is for those three clients, and it's so worth the effort already. And then some of the impact of doing these kinds of partnerships is long term, right? It's like people know us, we're top of mind, they're telling their clients about us, and they will come maybe in the next 6 months, maybe in the next 6 years. But what you're building is this reputation, this giant network of people who know about you and are thinking about you and mentioning you, and that's the real win here. Is just having that top of mind awareness for everyone. So when they are looking for a gym or a place that does what you do, you're going to be the first word out of their mouth. You're going to be the first thing out of their mouth, which is fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah. So what's next for you? I mean, you mentioned this partnership with the university, I think, as a next step. But what are you thinking about that's on the horizon for you? Any other kind of partnerships you want to pursue that you haven't started yet?
Yeah, so the university can't specifically like name us as a partner. There's there's potential health issues going on there. We've talked about it, and they're like, let's. It doesn't have to be like a specific program, which is fine. The other thing that I forget to mention
But they might
is
be able,
there's
they might be able to
hidden
kind of whisper. I would say they might just be able to whisper your name to people.
Yeah,
once in
be
a
like,
while. That might be as good as it
this
gets.
guy.
Yeah.
Like, go to these guys.
Yeah.
One thing I forgot to mention is like these people that we're getting from these local partnerships are some of our best clients we've had. Like these are people that are, depending upon the partner, are super invested in themselves and their health, and they're already working on it. So they've been some of my favorites. But what's next is actually more of that type of person. There is somebody that I'm trying to arrange coffee with that I've known for a long time, and a group that I've actually taken part in. Like if you actually take part in these things and care about them, it's a lot easier. There's less friction there. You can understand it more. So there's a group in the area called Columbia Multisport Club. Some of my best friends, and one's even a hand therapist, he is like super into triathlons. They take part in that club. So my next step is, hey, I've done a couple runners workshops for you guys in the past. We actually have a couple runners that I've gotten from those workshops that are still working with us like 2-3 years later.
Yep.
How can we sponsor you guys? Like, how can, with a local partnership, instead of going out and marketing to individual clients, what you're doing is you're walking up to clusters of clients or people who have basically like entire groups that you're trying to market to. So like, how can we work more with you guys on like a runner's workshop, or how can I sponsor you guys? I've got another event on May 13th. It's Bike Walk and Wheel Week. It's basically a local community trying to get people out and about, like breakfast station situation. I'm going to be taking part in that. So after that, there's some overlap with the people in the endurance community. I want to continue to do more of that. Like, how can we show up in those places that are harder to access, that you can't just send a Facebook ad out for? Like, those are the areas of business that other people may not be working on. So I would think there's like I wouldn't call it like a first to market advantage or like a first mover advantage, but there's some friction there. So other people in your areas might not be doing business in that way. So I want to go to those places. I want to go to the hard to reach places that take more time to pay off.
Yeah, that's such a great strategy, Stephen, because, the thing you're doing there, which you just said, which is instead of going after one lead, one prospect at a time, what you're doing is you're kind of infiltrating existing communities of people who already are aligned on, we are a running club, we are a biking club, we're a triathlon club, we're an intramural sports club. And if you can integrate yourself into those existing communities, you're then getting in front of 10, 20, 200 people at a time instead of one at a time. And that it might take a little while, but can have quite, so obviously such a huge payoff. Fantastic. All right. Well, in the interest of wrapping things up, for listeners who are like, yeah, I want to try this strategy. I want to work on building some local partnerships that get me referrals and get my reputation out there. Where do they start? What advice do you have for them as what a first step could look like?
So I think the easiest thing is something that either you told me or maybe Pete told me. I would start by asking the clients that you already work with, or, if you've been through therapy yourself, like I've had physical therapy maybe 9 times now. I would just reach out to the people you already know, or the people who have relationships with people in the area. And I would say, hey, we're thinking about branching out and doing something that's going to be to your benefit. Like, we want to have relationships with people that can also serve you. We're maybe not sure what that looks like, but is there somebody you'd be comfortable introducing me to, so we could kind of get to know them better and move through the dating phase to maybe like to the point where you're actually sharing clients. So I would start by just like reach out to the people you already know. If you don't know anybody, I might send a couple cold emails. It's kind of tough, especially depending upon like the structure of the organization that you're reaching out to. You might run into some gatekeepers or the sorting hat. But I would just start with like the first introduction you could get, even if it's like 1 to 2 degrees away from that person. I would just start asking people you already know for introductions. And if you don't know anybody, that's understandable. You might have to knock on some doors or something. Like it's uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
I've
Well,
done it.
even
Like you
still,
walk
I
into
mean,
a clinic.
your clients do, right? I mean, if you
Yeah.
don't know anyone, any other professionals out there that serve your clients will tell you who they are, and they can make
Yeah.
those introductions. So I think you're absolutely right. Start with the people that are in your own backyard. Start with the people who are, that you already know and that already know, like, and trust you, and ask them, where else do they go in your community to go shopping? Where else do they go in your community to get help for nutrition or get help from physical therapists? And they'll make introductions if they can. I think it's so smart, Steve. I think it's a great place to begin. Well, this is a great conversation. I'm sure we could keep going, but I'm gonna wrap it up here because I think that's a great takeaway for our listeners. If our listeners want to learn more about you or your business, where can they find you on the interwebs?
I am most frequently on the interwebs, trying to get more on Facebook or Instagram. Mainly, I spend the most time actually writing things for our website, which is simplesolutionsfitness.com. But if you want to say hi, I'm pretty easy to reach on Facebook, or you could email Stephen with a V at simplesolutionsfitness.com.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for this conversation, Stephen. I'm sure you'll continue to do amazing work. I'm going to have you back on again to tell people of the lessons you're learning as this project and others continue. So thank you so much for your time, my friend.
No problem. I appreciate it.
All right, friends, we're going to leave it there for the day. I feel like there's much more we could say about this, but we're going to leave you wanting more.
Well, I hope you loved today's podcast. And forgive me, I want to remind you one more time, if you haven't already done so, head over to businessofunicorns.com, click the button, and get your free self-assessment, the ultimate training gym owner report card. I promise you, you're going to want to dig into this resource and get the support you need, finding crystal clarity on exactly where you need to be focusing to create a life and a business you love.